Hello there, YouTube scale model building community. Dwayne here again, Badman Scale Customs. Working away here on my 1940 Ford build that I'm doing. And I thought while I'm doing some of the spring kits in it, I thought I'd share with you guys how I do them. So first of all, what I'll show you what I'm doing here is taking the kit supplied strut on the front and basically just cutting out the plastic spring portion of it and replacing that with a more realistic looking, I don't know if you can see that, more realistic looking spring there. There, that's a little better. So quickly show you how I do it. So first of all, I've already done one side here, so I'll get the other side going. Turn the camera down. I've already cut the top of that spring off, and I'm going to reuse it for the top of the spring mount. So I've cut that off already, and I've also drilled. I've dropped this thing about 20 times. I don't know if you can see. I can't. Drilled a hole in the top of it there. And what I'm going to do, and I'll show you the other one, the other side, is I'm going to take a small piece of styrene rod there and use that as my strut rod. And I'll show you how I prepare the strut. So I got my little, this is just a little saw blade that I can put in my X-Acto knife here. I better get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And go in there and keep the lower portion of the strut mount intact. Just basically cut that little piece of spring out of there. Just about there. And this one's alright, we're there. Okay, so spring's cut, and what I'm going to do now is just take my file and run this along the file just to flatten it down a little bit, get that last little burr off of it. It's actually quite a big burr on there, so, and a little bit more. And that's looking pretty good. So that's nice and flat now. That spring should sit on there real nice. So then, what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to take and drill out the center of this lower strut mount. Same size bit. This bit's just a hair bigger than the rod that I'm using. So drill it down. You don't have to drill it too far in there, just enough to locate the strut rod in there. So now, as you can see, that'll be nice and centered. There's the hole. Nice and centered. Not a tight fit, but it's meant mainly just to locate the rod. Now I've got the upper and lower strut prepped and ready to go for that side. Well, I don't have a, here I'll take my, this is, I'm using 3/64 rod for this, for the strut rod. I don't measure it, I just cut a length of it there. Once everything's all assembled, then I'll just trim off the excess of that rod. Now the spring. Yeah, for the spring I use, I can't find it. You can use just about anything that's round. There's some solder. I suppose you get smaller gauge solder and wrap it around your rod. I'm going to use this rod. This is a larger rod. This will give me the proper inside diameter to my spring. There it is, underneath my tape. So what I use for the spring, I found this roll of, this is black beading wire, which I found at Michael's in their beading section. So, and this seems to be a copper wire that's painted black, so it's reasonably soft and it makes a, gauge is nice. I'm not sure exactly what gauge this is. I think it's around 20 gauge. I don't think they go much smaller than that for beading. Well, maybe they do, I don't know. Anyhow, Michael's, and this stuff's actually really nice to work with. So I'll cut off a chunk here. I have a shorter piece of rod that I was using. There it is, right here. So what I do is I just take this wire and just wrap it around the rod. And I think I counted about 9 wraps on the coil there, so we'll do 9. Just wrap it up nice and tight. I like to just lay the coils down right directly beside each other, like so. So I lost count. 6, 7, and geez, it's about perfect. So you end up with something like that. Then you just essentially I just kind of take the two where you're at the 2 tabs and just put a little pressure on it to try and open up the coil a little bit, and that'll make it slide off of there quite easy. So now I'm just going to compare that to the other coil that I made. It should be a little bit shorter, just a little bit. Like that. So that looks about right. So to finish this off now, what I do is I just take, just trim that straight piece off of there, kind of a bit at an angle. Doesn't have to be, but give it a little trim. And then I'll go back down onto the file, and I'm going to just file the last coil nice and flat. So that it'll sit down nice and straight in that on that spring mount. So as you can see there, it files off actually quite nicely. So pull that back a bit, and I'll just test my fit there. Yeah, needs to go a little bit more. It's not going to sit perfectly flat if I leave it like that. So I want to get it a little flatter there. Oops, I'll drop that. I drop everything. Okay, that's looking not looking the greatest, but I think that'll do. I could drop the lower spring mount. And do the same thing on the other end of it. Stick it on the rod. I just flip it around. Use the rod for support. Trim it. File it flat. That one looks pretty good. Just stand it up there and you can feel it, and that one seems pretty good as well. Okay, so then what I do, once I got my ends filed, is I'll just take and stick my thumbnail between the coils and just wind my thumbnail all the way up, starting from the bottom to the top. Give the coils a little separation. Probably can't see that very well, but get her there. And there we are. So there we go. So now we got a little separation in between the coils. I don't know if you can see it very well or not. And I'll fuss over it a little bit if I don't think it's 100%, but I think this one's looking not too bad. There we go. Coil spring. I'm going to have to file that end a little more. But for the most part, that'll fit pretty good. Okay. So, how we look is we get our lower piece, strut rod, which is kind of a little wobbly in there, but once I glue it in there, it'll be nice. Put your spring over top of that. And your upper strut mount. hard to pick up. And there you go. There's one. There's a strut. Anyways, you get the idea. Then I'll test fit this in the chassis. If the length needs any adjusting, you can do that fairly quickly and easily. Some of this again. Hopefully I don't drop it. So this will go in here. There's a little tab on that upper strut. Oh, yeah, there it goes. I will get this. Alright. Dropped it again. I'll pick that piece up later. I'll just use this other one. One last try. Maybe I'll try and put the upper in first. There. It doesn't look too bad. You have to shorten it just a little bit. I could feel the spring tension on it there, so I'll have to shorten that up a little bit. But in any event, there's a spring. Do the same thing with your coil and shock assemblies. I'll do the two rears on this car as well, so, or on the rear axle here. So that's it in a nutshell. Anybody has any questions on that, feel free to send me a message or whatever, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.